It's match day and it's match preview. West Ham versus Southampton, already relegated Southampton. It's a really strange one, isn't it? Because it's playing against a team that are already relegated. Obviously, we're a team that are safe, there or thereabouts, but safe. Not really fighting for anything other than pride. So really, it's a nothing game, but I would consider it a must-win game. It's a must-win game for Graham Potter. I think this, when you think about where we are as a club going into next season, a big summer ahead, it's really vital now that we finish the season as strong as we can. And I feel like the performances lately have reflected a team that's going to do that. I feel like there are more points that we're going to win. Referring to the Bournemouth second half performance, then going to Liverpool performing pretty well. I feel like this is a game that we must win. There can't be any excuses now. This is a big opportunity to get some goals and some points on the board, and to lift that mood, especially when we've got Tottenham coming up soon, Manchester United. We've got some bigger games coming up, and I do feel that this is a vital game to get those points. We really, really do need the win. So, although it's a nothing game, it's a must-win game, if that makes sense. Let's talk about Southampton, though, before we get into West Ham and team selections and all that kind of stuff. I've got to say, I mean, they must be bitterly disappointed. The Southampton supporters, they have been so bad this season, Southampton, haven't they? I mean, they're on track at the moment to being the worst. I think the worst the Premier League's ever experienced before was Derby County. That was quite a while back, and they finished the season on 11 points. So Southampton are currently on 10, so they desperately need to get a couple more points on the board before the end of the season. I'm not confident they will, to be honest. They've been that bad. Maybe the pressure now, with the pressure being off, that they're not fighting for survival, that possibly that we'll see a bit of a more free playing style of football from Southampton, where they just go out and enjoy it. I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? But yeah, in terms of a Premier League season, my word, they have been pretty shocking. I never really agreed with the sacking of Russell Martin. I thought that was a bit of a mistake. Not to say that he was doing well, but I think it was evident from the opening weeks of the Premier League season. It was obvious they were going to go down. They were just not at it. They were never going to be good enough. They're a Championship side. That's the reality of it. They've got Championship quality side. And it's just been obvious from very early days. And my feeling is that they had a manager in Russell Martin that was very, very good in the Championship, got them out of that league in decent fashion. They played some good football. And what he naively did, he tried to bring that into the Premier League with the same players, but up against far more well-equipped opposition and far more quality. And he just wouldn't change his style, which in some ways you can commend and think, okay, that's quite admirable of you. But I think it's a bit naive. Now, my feeling was at the time, and it still is, that Southampton should have possibly just thought, well, okay, we're likely to go down anyway. Let's keep Russell Martin and then let's go again next season. Let's add to this squad and build a really strong Championship squad. Hopefully win the league possibly next season, come straight up comfortably and then go again and then have that belief that, look, now we understand the Premier League, we can build. I think sacking him was a really bad decision, especially with who they brought in, that Juric. Diabolical appointment. I mean, really, he's got a terrible track record. I'm not quite sure what the appointment was about. It was almost just a panic. Just get rid of Russell Martin and bring anyone in. That's how it felt. And it was an odd one because I was kind of hoping, in a sense, that we would see this special appointment emerge. I don't really know. I'll look at his track record and think, God, he must be awful. Imagine he comes to the Premier League and does really well. A little bit like what Wolves have done, in terms of their manager change around. You feel like, oh, okay, quite impressed, but it just didn't happen. He was playing some very, very odd formations, odd team selections. It was just a really bad appointment. And he has now been sacked. Now, once their relegation was confirmed, they sacked him, which is right, fine, fair enough. And then they brought in Simon Rusk as an interim manager. So it's been a real mess. I feel like the Southampton fans will be very disappointed and no doubt very angry with their ownership because of how the season's panned out and the fact that they've not really put up a fight, have they? Let's be honest, it's been really poor, and I'm not convinced they're going to bounce back, to be honest. Although the Championship is a very different league and different quality levels, so I do appreciate that, but they've been that bad that you think, really? I mean, if they go down with this squad, right, then we'll have some changes, I'm sure. A couple of players will move on. But if they go down with a relatively similar squad and then do really well in the Championship next season, then it kind of really does showcase how different levels between the Championship and the Premier League now is. So it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, it's they've got a job on their hands there, and I do certainly feel for the Southampton supporters because I'm sure they'll be fuming really of how the season's panned out. Flynn Downs, of course, was part of that. He's left West Ham in the summer. Last summer, went to Southampton permanently. I wasn't really thrilled with the move. I've got to be honest. I like Downs. I think he's never really going to be possibly a number one midfielder for West Ham, but I felt that we could have done with him this season. He's a good passer of the ball. He does the job well, and I thought he'd have been all right to keep. But looking back at it, obviously he hasn't done that great at Southampton. It hasn't gone that overly well for him this season. I think if he stays there, I think he'll be one of the better players in the Championship next season. Depending, of course, if he does stay and doesn't want to try and get another move to a Premier League club, possibly a promoted side. I'm not sure. But yeah, he'll be obviously bitterly disappointed as well. It's just been a really bad season for them. Kyle Walker-Peters, of course, want to quickly mention him, who's likely to be coming to West Ham. It's looking highly, highly likely. Let's try to get that beating through. Yeah, so it's been a really bad season for them, and it presents an opportunity for West Ham today. Certainly playing against a team that's shipping goals and are just so badly managed and look all over the shop. So I really feel this is a good opportunity for West Ham. It really is, because we are playing against a team that are likely to be the worst in Premier League history. So you'd like to think at the London Stadium we might actually be able to do something, but. Let's wait and see. Let's talk about West Ham though before we go on to teams and stuff. Team news is nothing new. Mikel Antonio, of course, out. Sam Somerville still out, which I'm becoming exhausted with, to be honest with you. Finding this whole mystery illness injury situation just driving me mad. It feels like it's something that plagues our football club, doesn't it? Season after season, how many times we bring players in and suddenly they get an injury and then it just turns into this nightmare and we never can deal with it. No one seems to know how long he's going to be out. 1 minute we're getting told it's a couple of weeks, then we're getting told it's a few months, then we're getting told he's not going to even start next season. It just goes on and on and on. And at the moment, the latest is from Graham Potter in his press conferences that he's still working with physios. He's not on the pitch. He's still trying to work to get back to fitness. It's a serious injury. It's like, it's a bloody hamstring strain. I said when we first got told. When he first got injured, they said 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks out, he'll be back. Oh, brilliant. Bloody hell. That was back in January. 4 months on and we're still sitting around wondering where he is. It's ridiculous. So I'm getting really drained with that one. But that aside, we have no new injuries. However, we need to consider Nicholas Fullkrug's injury situation in that he is not fit to play 90 minutes. Apparently, from what we understand, even 45 minutes is a stretch for him. But that being said, I really want West Ham to play with a striker today. I'm getting fed up with this Bowen up front thing. It doesn't work. It never has worked. I just don't want to keep seeing it. We really do need a striker on there. So my feeling is, and I'm going to come to that when I do the team section in a bit more detail, but my feeling is start with your best team today. Let's just start off on the front foot. I don't want to keep starting with a weaker team, then with a view of going, well, we'll bring on Fullkrug a bit later on. I just start with him. Do you know what I mean? If you can only play 30, 45 minutes and play him for the first 45 and then stick with that striker role. We can't keep... The issue we're having as well is not that we're not playing with a striker, which doesn't give us that focal point and just keeps us better balanced. It's the fact that we're putting Bowen up front and you're then losing one of your best, our best player in his best position. He's better out on the right. We know he is. That's where he's so lethal. He can cut inside. He's so dangerous. I don't want to keep seeing him lumbered up front. So yeah, that's something that really does need dealing with. Another thing I want to talk about as well is Max Kilman. I've got to be honest, I've been really disappointed with him recently. Some of his performances have been really poor. I thought he was at fault for the goal against Bournemouth. Well, he was at fault for the goal against Bournemouth. That's their equaliser to make it 2-2. He was caught napping and playing everybody on side, and it's terrible for some. A £40 million defender. He should be known much better than that. And then he does it again against Liverpool. He gets pulled out of position. I know that Ollie Scarl's got the brunt of that goal. It was the Luis Diaz goal where he'd been basically skinned by Mo Salah. No shame in that. Talk about that in a second. But Kilman was way out of position and it cocked us all up. He got dragged into the midfield. He then had to try and recover himself. And he's not the fastest. He then got Aaron Wan-Bissaka to try and come over and cover, as was Sadiba. It was just a complete mess. And I blame Kilman really more than I do anybody else. So I want to see better from him today. I really do. I feel like he needs to start showing a bit more because he's supposed to be this one of our main defenders going forward. We brought him in. We brought him under, obviously, Lopetegui's suggestion. I'm not saying he's been a bad signing or anything like that, but I'm not impressed with these sort of schoolboy errors. I look at them and think these are naive mistakes you're making, and you're supposed to be an accomplished Premier League defender. So yeah, a bit disappointed with him at the moment. So I'm expecting today a better display from Kilman. I've got to be honest with you. And then on to Ollie Scholes. I want to see him start today. I felt that he's had a bit of unfair criticism recently. I don't know why that's the case. I don't think the majority of fans do criticise, but there is certainly a few that like to, stick the boot in at times. And I think he's been wonderful for us. He's an apprentice. This is how it works. You're going to have good games and bad. You're going to learn from mistakes. That is part and parcel of it. We had this with Declan Rice. You had periods when you watched him thinking, God, he's getting ripped apart today. And then in some games he was fantastic. It's just it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adjust. And I felt the decision to play him against Liverpool, although in my lineup prior to that, I didn't want to see it. I wanted Emerson because I felt that we needed that experience. And I felt that would have been better in terms of a result perspective, probably would have been fared a bit better. But in terms of Scholes' development, you kind of can't argue with it. I think that it's invaluable experience, going up against a player of that quality in Mo Salah. I think it's what he needs to learn. If you want Scholes to go on to be a top Premier League player, he's going to have to get used to playing against top Premier League players. That's just the way it rolls. So I actually thought he was all right. And let's be honest, I thought he actually played well. I thought he actually really played well against Liverpool. Apart from struggling in the early exchanges, I thought he settled down. He was good. So this is a game I actually think that I want to see that. Let's keep rolling that now because Emerson's likely to depart this summer. 30 years old. We want to move him on and upgrade anyway. We're talking about a minute ago, wasn't it? Carl Walker-Peters coming in anyway, who can play at both right and left back. So I feel that we've got a few more games left this season. Let's give them a go. And this is a game that you think, well, against Southampton, lesser opposition, it'd probably be far more comfortable. So that's what I'm feeling. I certainly think that he's developing really well. Scholes, I'm really, really excited for him, to be honest. I think he's going to be a top player for this club. Right, onto the team. Right, I want to know what your teams are. Give me your teams and give me your score prediction. That's what I want to know because it creates a good conversation. I want to see where the minds are at for today. This is my team. I'm going to go for a 4-2-3-1 formation. Definitely not do the back five for this game. I thought it looked well when we played it against Bournemouth. I thought we set up really nicely. I thought it was quite an entertaining game. Apart from the early period, second half of the first, I thought we struggled a bit, but I thought certainly the second half, I thought we played pretty well, and it was just a good. The noise was good. It was good atmosphere. It just picked up. So I really hope we get a bit more of that today. So certainly going for a similar setup in terms of how we play. So my team is this: Ariona in goal. Back four. I've struggled with the back four. I'm going to be honest, only because I'm not impressed with Kilman, as I say, of late. And I've got to be honest, I thought Mavropanos played really well when I've seen him recently. I thought he's looked okay and looked pretty solid. So I'm a little bit torn about what to do with this. But I've gone with Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back, Todibo and Kilman as the centre-back pairing with Scholes at the left back. But as I say, I was quite open to dropping either Todibo or Kilman, really. I feel like Mavropanos actually has been all right. And fair play to him because he does come under a lot of criticism, doesn't he, Mavropanos? He's a bit of the fool guy at times, and rightly so because he does make a lot of mistakes. But you can't be, if you're going to criticise him, then when he does play well, you can't ignore it. And I think he's looked all right. So, as I say, I think I have to call out Kilman, really. I think of late he's not looked that great. So I want to see him buck his ideas up a bit today because I'll tell you what, if he puts in another poor performance and makes a few mistakes that are schoolboy, then I think really there's an argument there to say, well, I'll tell you what, we're bringing Mavropanos in. So yeah, the back four though, back five will be Ariona in goal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman and Ollie Scholes. Midfield, so the two I'm going to play, and I'm in an iron with this. I was tempted to drop Alvarez, actually. I've not been that thrilled with him this season. I'm going to be honest. A player that I'm not too fussed if we do move him on this summer, to be honest. If we can get a decent fee for him, I think there's better options out there. We've also got Freddie Potts coming back in as well. We've got a few options, you know what I mean, coming back in midfield. I do think, I'm not convinced on him actually at the moment. So, but I am going to play him for this. Only because I've still got that wariness. I just don't want us to concede goals. I want us to have a clean sheet today and win. So I just want a little bit more protection in the back line. So I'm going to put in Alvarez there with Carlos Soler as a midfield partnership. I thought he looked really good, Soler, against Liverpool. He looked good. He's looking all right. I've got to say, I've starting to lean towards the fact I think we should be pushing for another loan from him for next season. We're not going to sign him. His wages are far too high. But if West Ham can try and get a deal done for another loan, I don't see why that'd be too much of an issue. I think he's looking better. He's growing more and more into this league and looking more solid. And I think he's a good option to have. So, yeah, that's how my feelings are on Soler at the moment. So, yeah, Alvarez and Soler for me. Then I'm going to have three of Bowen out on the right, Kudus out on the left with Lucas Paqueta playing in the middle. And I'm starting Nicholas Fullkrug up front. I really do not want to keep seeing this slow start poor first half, and then we play really well because we bring on Fullkrug. Do it the other way around today. I want to see us start with our best players, our best team. Let's get in the front foot. Let's wrap up the game in the first half. You know what I mean? Let's be 2 or 3 up at half time. I know I'm being probably a bit arrogant there and bit especially towards Southampton fans. But you know how I'm feeling. What my point is not necessarily saying that's going to happen, but if we're going to win the game and score some goals, let's do it early. Let's get the place lifted, and then what you can do is bring on Ferguson. I mean, what the bloody on earth is going on with Ferguson? I don't know, but it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, what was the point of this signing? Absolute waste of time. Yeah, very unimpressed. But that's my feeling today. I do not want to see Bowen up front. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's what will start. I think Bowen will be up front. I think it'll be Kudus, and yeah, that's my feeling of it. That's my gut feeling. It will be. But it's similar to what we've seen before with Fullkrug coming on the second half. That's my gut feeling of how it will probably be panning out. But I really hope that isn't the case. Right, score. Let me know what you think. The score. I think we're going to win, and I think we're going to win 2-0. I don't suspect we're going to score, a huge amount of goals. I just don't have that much confidence in us at the moment in scoring too many goals. But I'd like to think we'll win this, and it should be relatively comfortable. And it should bloody well be, really, considering how bad Southampton have been. And we need this. We really, really need a good day today. We need a good lift. Everybody up, feeling good about it, and then we can look forward to the last few games of the season. We've got 5 more games, then, including Man United and Spurs. We've got Ipswich as well still to play. Brighton away next week. So there's a few games in there that you sort of look at and think, come on, let's get some points now. So let's lift the mood. Let's try and get to that sort of like 11th, or close as we can to 11th as we can, even if it's 12th or 13th, something like that. Just give us a little bit of belief that we're going into the summer with our towers up a little bit, and then we can be excited for next season. So yeah, big game today, and I fancy us 2-0. Also, we've got the pre-match event as well, just to let you know. We've got Alvin Martin today. It's at the Colour Factory. It kicks off at 11 o'clock. So if you fancy it, come down, and look forward to seeing you all there. Anyway, hopefully we'll get a result and hope for some 3 points. Come on your minds.